Hello, friends, and welcome back to another episode of Football Manager Therapy. I'm your host, Rich Owens, and joining me this week for the second week in a row, we have the entirety of the FM team. We've got Alice, FM Girl, we've got the United City FM Kev, and we've also got Jebaru. All wonderful people, all people I'm delighted to be spending my evening with. Alice, how are you, friendo?
I'm doing very good, but you don't have to just deal with me this week. You have the troublemaker from last week.
I can see in the background. Alice, also me and you, we need to have words, mate, because thanks to you,
Oh no,
friendo is now just part of my everyday vocabulary.
I'm so sorry. I can teach you other words. Maybe that'll help.
I need to learn more. It's very, very important. I need a thesaurus because at the moment, generally, I'm like, things are either good or they're bad or friendo. That's all I've got. So thank you for that, pal.
You're very welcome. I aim to make the world a better place.
And you absolutely do on a regular basis, mate. It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you for coming back and joining us. And speaking of absolute pleasures, it's the nicest man in the world. Kev, how are you, friend?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Rich. I hope you are doing well too.
Thank you for asking, mate. I am.
You're welcome.
I am
nicest man in the FM community. I've got to live up to it somehow, occasionally.
It's true.
Yeah, I'm doing good. What I would say is that I typed friendo into your chat the other day, and I think that was the first time ever, and I'm just not sure about it, if I'm totally honest. It felt slightly wrong, but thanks, Alice, anyway. You know, it's all cool.
I know. Alice is an influencer now. Like, I didn't realize Alice is an influencer. If you follow her on all of her socials, like suddenly we're going to be buying weird toothpastes. We're going to be involved in weird multi-level marketing schemes. I can't wait. I'm really, really excited.
I got a new energy brand, a new energy drink brand on the way.
Exactly. FM Girl University. I cannot wait to graduate. Cannot wait. And if there's a man that looks like he'd arguably giving the best lectures at FM Girl University, it's Jebaru wearing some incredible adult knitwear this evening. It looks spectacular. How are you, pal? How's it going?
It's autumn. I can bring jumpers and cardigans out, even though it gets really warm in this room when I try and stream or anything. So hopefully we'll be all right tonight. But yeah, I'm okay. Clocks go back tonight. That's exciting. More sleep. Maybe. I don't know.
Nice.
Yeah, you can tell the people that have children compared to the ones that don't. It's just, sleep is subjective at this point. It's an hour of something. My children are going to wake up tomorrow regardless, at the exact same time they normally do. And I'm going to give them some kind of video entertainment till I'm ready to drag myself up. So, because that's parenting. That's how it works, boys and girls. That's how it works. There's no friendly parenting. There's no rising with your children early in the morning. It's just go and watch Bluey until Daddy's ready, please. Bluey's great.
Can I also just put a disclaimer in? The clocks don't go back tonight when you're listening to this. They went back the night that we recorded this. So let's just cover that because somebody will set the watch wrong.
Somebody's going to be. Yeah,
I'll get blamed. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yep, somebody was super late for work yesterday because Jebaru said, the clock's gone back. Sorry, it's on that podcast I listened to. Guys, thank you very much again for joining me, the three of you. I'm massively looking forward to it. And thank you, the audience. We've had some wonderful feedback individually, as collectively for episode 100. So think of that as your building block. So it's a delight to have all three of you here again with me this evening. And we've got plenty to talk about today as well. Plenty to talk about because we've all been squaring away with our beta saves. We've all been doing many, many streams. Some of us just live on Twitch now. It's quite incredible. Some of us just have no life outside of it. And I'm so jealous. We've all been doing bits and pieces, varied results across the board for us. I think it's fairly safe to say in some cases. So we've been busy. We opened the forum to yourselves, to the audience this week. We posted on Twitter and we said, hey, who's got some questions for us? And you did us proud. You did us so proud. Got some absolute belters to run through tonight as well. So I'm looking forward to diving into all of those things this evening. But I think first and foremost, we should deal with, for us, the present, arguably the past, because it's happened over the last week or so. We're all now a week further into our beta saves. As I've said, with varying degrees of success. Jabber, we'll start with you, mate. We'll start with you because you were streaming earlier this afternoon. There were rumours. There were rumours, mate, of the first sacking of the new FMT era. Tell us how you've got on. How are things in Wolverhampton?
Yeah, it wasn't going well. It wasn't going well at all. I streamed yesterday as well, and I'm finally catching up to my week. I could stream yesterday, so I jumped on and didn't win a game for a while. We played Everton. So we were basically one of the favourites to get sacked. And then in October, 6 managers in the Premier League got sacked, and it was a bit crazy. I was responsible for 2 of them, Everton and Bournemouth, so it worked quite well. Got those wins, and I was on an F, and I left it on an F. And then we came back today, got a couple of draws in, and then we played Man United. I was a bit scared playing Man United. And then there was 6-1 up at half time, and we won 7-1. So I wasn't too bothered by it about the end. Something went wrong. I think something went wrong. Something went really right. It was great. Raul Jimenez is the top scorer in the Premier League currently. Nobody else is scoring any goals for me. Raul Jimenez is just hitting the back of the net time after time. Something like he's had 27 shots on target and he scored 16 goals. It's something crazy like that. I can't remember completely off the top of my head. Rest of the team, absolutely awful. And I think I said the one big struggle with Wolves is they got rid of Willy Bolly, they got rid of Connor Cody, they got rid of Don Donker, and we've got 3 21, 22-year-old central defenders, and there's just no experience there. And it's getting over that, and then the squad is so thin. I've had to put in youth team players on the bench and things like that. And then sadly, Ruben Neves won't sign a contract for me, so I've had to sell him. So I'm quite happy. 6 months left on his deal. I got 30 million for him, and I'm probably going to January and see how I can spend that. So that's where I'm up to on mine.
Fantastic. So you've a bit of a roller coaster, but congratulations first and foremost on avoiding the sacking. It's very important here at Football Manager Therapy that we maintain, our unsackable status. Spoiler alert, but you won't catch any of us getting fired in the beta. No. Other podcasts are available where that happens if that's your bag. But it's also actually, mate, you were telling us kind of in our preamble before we started recording, you've had a bit of an issue with a contract with a player that I've not come across before. And I don't know if it's a new addition for this year or if it's just something that occasionally happens if you try and sign the elder statesman of the game in regards to, potentially changing their mind before they arrive.
Yeah, so I had a midfielder crisis in September. So I was like, right, who can I go out? Oh, Mr. Dembele's there. I'll try and sign him, and then realise I can't register him. So he's there. He got injured for a couple of months, couldn't register him. And then I was getting ready for January, and just in the middle of December, he just went, I'm retiring at the end of the month. Bye. So he's just fleeced me for 20 grand a week for God knows how many weeks. And he's off to retirement. It's just, thanks, great.
You've been had. I really, really hope that he's left a calling card in the dressing room. And he's just like Kaiser Soze out of Molineux. Just,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, absolutely fuming, eh? But there we go. It's 20 grand off my wage bill, I guess, but still.
There you go. Swings and roundabouts, which he now has all the time in the world to play on account of his retirement. I'm sure you can't keep him off them. Mate, it sounds like never a dull moment in the Midlands with yourself. So again, would wholeheartedly recommend anybody who's keen on a bit of Wolverhampton Wanderers action, please do check out Jeb's streams. As I say, the man has arguably the greatest thumbnail in Beta Safe history. It's something quite special. If you've not already seen it, please go check it out. I cannot recommend it enough. And speaking of highly recommended streams, crossing the sea now to the sunny climates of Spain. Kev has been spending a little bit more time out in Valencia. How are we? How's Spain treating you, pal?
I mean, Spain is lovely. Can't you tell by my tan? I mean, it's pretty immense by now, really. But what I would say is that Valencia, in terms of La Liga, has been distinctly mid, is my thought. We're due to finish about 9th in terms of the pre-season preview, and we're sitting in and around there at the moment in about early March, I think it is, late February, somewhere around there. And it's just been a bit mid. At the end of the first half of the season, I hadn't made any changes to the squad in the summer. Didn't really have the finances to do it. I thought I'll keep what I've got, see what they're about. Halfway through the January window, decided actually Jose Gaia, my superstar left back, wasn't going to sign a new deal with me, had no interest in doing it. So I had to make the choice either to let it run down or sell him off. So I sold him off for about 40 million, I think it was, and then used that to invest in the squad. Brought Mukoko in as a on a loan for the second half of the season. Bought a holding midfield Brazilian, I think his name is Wallace, I think, into the holding midfield role, and just tried to bulk up the squad a little bit with a little bit more quality moving into the second half of the season. I can't say it's done a lot of good. We're still middling. It's still mid-table. It's all just a bit mid. But I'm having a lovely time.
And that is the important thing. I don't think there's anybody that could be more positive about a save where essentially they're just treading water for the next week until a main game drops. If you wanted somebody who's going to put a massively positive spin on that, Kev is your man. So, mate, it's you know what? Regardless of the results, regardless of anything else that's happening, it sounds like you're having a pretty interesting time out there in Spain. So, again, very much like Jeb, if you like a very, very kindly afternoon stream, then I cannot recommend Kev wholeheartedly enough. So please nip over to Spain, check out what Kev's doing with Valencia for the next week while beta is still live. Finally, Alice, how's the all aspect of all or nothing with Arsenal going, pal?
It is all there. Like we destroyed the league, well, most of it. Unfortunately, for some reason in my particular save, this isn't happening to everyone, but Liverpool are just the most dominant team in the world. We're 2 seasons in, and Liverpool are unstoppable. So I had to, in season 1, I had to settle for second best. You know, I absolutely cruised through it. There was no real danger of me not coming second. Like, we were always going to get the Champions League. You know, I brought in Tammy, my boy Tammy. Who was the other one? I've forgotten who I brought in. Gabby, there we go. Tammy and Gabby I brought in season 1. They were my only 2 signings. We didn't really need to bring in anyone else other than to cover. So we got to the Champions League. The board are like, here we go. Here's 80 million for next season. And of course, you would expect me to, you know, spend that money on strengthening the weak areas of the squad, making sure. No. We're just going straight for Jude Bellingham. We're just going to dump the entire 80 million on Jude Bellingham, like you do. And season 2 hasn't quite gone to plan. I was mocking Tony for getting sacked in season 1 with his Arsenal save, and now I don't think I'm quite there. But if I don't start picking up on some results soon, I might be in danger of the talk.
Oof. How far are you kind of tiptoeing on the line of that dreaded boardroom vote of confidence? Because that's never a good sign when that is no, we trust Alice. We trust Alice. We don't trust Alice. We don't trust her at all. No, we're lining up somebody new. But on the plus side, mate, you made it through season 1. So that in and of itself, quite the achievement.
I've already done what I wanted to do, and that was to do better than Tony, and you know, mission successful.
Yeah, smash that, mate. Absolutely smash that. Again, sounds never a dull moment in one of Alice's streams, and as I said, practically living on Twitch at the moment. So, you know, we saw it in a 433 comic. It's like, why have you taken all your annual leave now? It's a really weird time of year to do it. It's like, got FM to play, and it's an incredibly valid way to spend your annual leave. So, mate, I think to be honest, the rate you're flying through, you'll be season 3, maybe even season 4 by the time the full game drops in about a week's time. So, thoroughly looking forward to seeing what happens there. You know, you've got a slight reputation to rebuild, maybe with some of the fans in the immediate short term, but I believe in you wholeheartedly to be able to do that, pal. No worries here.
I'm not sure.
No worries whatsoever.
I'm not sure I do.
Let me be that internal cheerleader for you. Go on, Alice. Go on. I mean, I'm having a lovely time over in France with Nice. I've got to say, it's all going a little bit too well. Found my first bug to report to SI, which was interesting. Found my first bug to report, which was me inexplicably losing a game. You know, took about 13 competitive games until I finally, you know, tasted defeat. And it was PSG as well. What are you going to do? It's PSG and Liga. They're far too good, and they've even spent a ridiculous amount of money on players they didn't need even in this beta save anyway. But no, we're sat. I think we're just coming up to the January transfer window. It's been a little bit slow on my end, but we're top of Liga. You know, we've lost to PSG, but we've bounced back. didn't have any money to spend. That was one of the things I noticed about Nice, is that there's no real money there. There's just about enough to balance the books and, get some of the more important players like your Yusuf Atal, get him on a new contract because he's only got a year left on his, and he's a very, very popular boy. I had to upset my new favourite striker in the world, Andy Delort, when Spurs came in and offered an embarrassingly low sum for him on transfer deadline day. I had to say, sorry, Andy, you're staying. And then he got very, very cross with me. But now, fingers crossed, we're Bezos again, because he's small, but he can jump really, really high, and he can kick the ball really hard. And that's what I like in a striker. I'm having a cracking time. But we've got Europa Conference League, so every now and then I do get scared and a bit startled by the music that pops up on match day. Still haven't got completely used to that, and had a lovely little nostalgic walk down memory lane, because I drew like a Cypriot team were in my qualifying group, and they were led out by Sheffield Wednesday hero Super Gary Hooper. So I was delighted. I got very, very excited when I noticed that Gary Hooper was on the pitch. A little bit disappointed I wasn't managing him, and was tempted just to put a bid in for him after the game, but I bottled it. I absolutely bottled it. Didn't go through. Very much looking forward to the second half of the season, except I'm sat at the moment. I think I've got about 500k left in my transfer budget, which is fine. I don't really need to strengthen the squad massively. It's kind of there or thereabouts. I got that really, really worrying message pop up a couple of games ago. I didn't realize that over the summer, Nice made a permanent signing of Todibo, the French centre-back. I think he was on there on loan last season. He was on loan from Barcelona, and they've made the deal permanent. I think now in 2, maybe even 1 game, he's 1 appearance away from me having to pay a mandatory £3.5 million. So I can either do what Atletico Madrid were doing with Antoine Griezmann earlier in the season and just not play him ever again. So, I can just sit on that £3.5 million, or I play him because, realistically speaking, I really need him and bankrupt the club. Those are my 2 options. So I think the second half of the season, there might be a little bit of book balancing to do. I just don't want to, because I don't like maths. It's not why I play the game. I don't do it to do accounting. I do it to pretend I'm good at football management. So, I've got that to look forward to. But who needs a positive bank balance? Who needs one? Not me.
Who does?
Exactly. Criminally overrated, as is my understanding. Criminally overrated. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes on. So please do keep an eye out. Keep an eye out for streams from all 4 of us. The links to all of our Twitch channels will be in the description of this episode. However you may be listening to this podcast, they'll all be there. Drop in us. See how we're getting on. Obviously, all very, very well, because we're all unsackable. So there we go. Bit of a beta catch up. Lovely old time. Aren't we all doing very, very well? Yes, we are, is what I've learned. Now, again, I've thanked the audience already, because you're all wonderful people. I've thanked our listenership and our viewers. However you are consuming this podcast, cheers. Appreciate you. Earlier this afternoon, I put a little tweet out, because if there's one thing that we cannot get enough of, it's interaction and chatting to yourselves, to the audience, because we like you. In a roundabout kind of way, we like you. You're good people, and you all smell really nice. We basically said, do we have any questions for us? Is there anything that, anything really, really pressing on your minds that you want our opinions on, that you would like to know? And my goodness, you have all done so well. You've all done so well, because we have got a post bag bristling. I say post bag, a Twitter notification feed bristling with correspondence from yourselves. There's some really, really, really strong questions in here, by the way. So thank you for those. I thought we'd have a little dive in and just kind of see what's going on. And if it's all right with the 3 of you, get some opinions, get a bit of feedback, and we'll just find out a little bit more about your opinions on the game, long and short term saves, whatever it may be. There's lots to dive into here. First and foremost, something that won't necessarily come up today, but is arguably one of my favorite suggestions. It's going to be, I would say, a fairly regular feature on Football Manager Therapy moving forwards. Long-time listener, first-time caller, classic Katie. Hiya, Katie. How you doing, friend? The people, and I'll read it as written, the people, me, I am the people, humbly request a Football Manager Room 101 Thanks in advance. Katie, yes, absolutely. 100% we're doing that. Superb idea. Over the next few weeks, months, years, decades, however long we go for, we are going to be putting certain aspects of the Football Manager experience into Room 101. We will, we'll put them to the room. We'll make it a democratic vote, and then, I'd like to mock up a little kind of handle to pull, but I'm not going to because I'm really, really lazy. But that, Katie, that is an absolutely stunning idea, mate, and that is something that we will be doing moving forwards. Thank you very much for your suggestion. We appreciate it.
Can I just confirm? Does that mean I have to be mean and nasty about something? Because I'm not sure that my brand can cope with that. I mean, Kev, I can try, but
I believe in your ability to get a bit grumpy about things. I think you've got that in your locker, mate. Together,
I'll do it for you, Rich. I'll do it for you.
Thank you, mate.
I was just about to say, no one likes staff meetings, so there we are. There's an easy one.
Nailed it.
Everyone clicks request summary. Thanks. There you go.
Well, that's something I can get behind.
Absolutely. There you go. See, completely impromptu staff meetings, FM Room 101. They're in. Boom. Lever. Imaginary. Pulled. Gone forever. I would make the argument that when you are setting up your save, when you see that screen and it's request staff meeting summary, if you don't put it on monthly, then I'm genuinely frightened of you. I'm genuinely frightened on you, especially if you click through them all as well. You terrify me. We should train that player's weak foot. We should stop training that player's weak foot. But that player's weak foot's not very good. Maybe we should train it. Repeat forever. Just
my favorite one is I've got a player out for 12 months with cruciate ligament damage, and you should register him for the league. I was like, no.
No, I don't want to. I have definitely in the past, in some saves, I have registered players who, in medical terms, are practically dead just to get squad registrations kind of up and running. It has been done in the past, and I'm ashamed to admit it, but sometimes needs must. But generally speaking, no, that's correspondence we could all do without. So, Jeb, excellent shout, mate. Yeah, staff meetings, FM Room 101, in, never to see the light of day again. Cannot stand them. 100% agree. Great shout. Thank you for that, Katie. Love it. Josh Sam, OBeep GCP. Hi, Josh. How are we? Lovely question from you, mate. Lovely question from you. Which of the new features do you see yourself making the most of in the long term? Now, we touched on this a little bit last week, having all spent a little bit more time kind of with the game, with the match engine, getting a little bit more kind of accustomed to, the new features being around. Kev, I'll head to you first, friend. Of the new features that we've seen so far, as Josh says, what do you see yourself kind of diving into and getting the most mileage out of as the game continues?
So for me, there are a couple of obvious thoughts around squad planners and other things, but I'm not going to go to the squad planner, although I'm hoping I'll use it. Maybe my history suggests maybe not, but I hope I will. The thing for me that I actually really like this time round, and it is just about me because I'm sure most of our viewers do it anyway, is more about the recruitment and the scouting kind of side of things. I actually genuinely, for me, for whatever reason, feel it's much more intuitive and much more connected to how I would want to do things this time around. Haven't really done too much of it before. I often leave it for things like my chief scout to figure out and sort out for me. And then when I really need a player, just go into the scouting area myself, narrow down the attributes and find a player I'm looking for, basically. But I think this time round, the whole system of how you send out your scouts, I hope to be more connected to that this time round, I think.
I think that's an incredibly good shout. I think, like yourself, mate, it's not something I've taken massive amounts of advantage of so far in the beta. I think, doing it, especially doing it live on stream, it's the kind of thing that you don't necessarily want to spend too much time setting up, because all action, high octane Football Manager gameplay, but it is what it is. So no, I think that's an incredibly good shout, mate. And I think, again, as the game progresses, as our kind of longer term saves start to take shape, I think especially the scouting side of things is the kind of thing I think we're all going to probably get quite a lot of mileage out as the game goes on. Jeb, what about you, pal? How are you getting on? What new features are kind of tickling your fancy?
People say this guy over here. Nope, no, he's not. He's over here. This guy over here isn't mean, but he's just stole my thing. So I think, but then I also understand why Kev wouldn't use a squad planner because of the nature of his save. He's going to be moving from country to country every single season, so a squad planner is pretty pointless on that side of things. Well, if he's allowed to move, judging by this year, maybe not.
I'll be in Ukraine for 7 years. We know where I will.
Yeah, I think that squad planner is a good way, and it's actually tied into, as you've gone further in, it ties into those recruitment meetings. It does actually go, right, do you want to plan out your squad? Tell us what you need, and then we'll come back with suggestions. Granted, my scouting team came back with 12 goalkeepers and was like, well, I only need one. Have you got anything else? No. Cool, nice one. But yeah, having that squad planner is quite key just to plan out where you want to go, you save, what you need to fill in, and where you go along recruiting players or bringing players from the youth, etc. I think I started to use it for Wolves, but like I said, I'm not deep dived into it, and I'm quite looking forward to doing that with a main save.
Yeah, again, I think very valid points there. I think the squad planner, as you say, it's something that, when you're 10 seasons in and you're trying to keep track of your, 17 different, youth team right backs that might turn out to be quite good. Some of whom are getting quite grumpy about that game time that you definitely promised everybody, because we all do it. We will absolutely do it. It's like, yeah, you know what? When I'm working out a contract with you, yeah, you can be a first team right back in 4 seasons time. Then suddenly 4 seasons have gone by and you've promised that to 6 people. And then you've got a lot of apologies to do. So yeah, again, very valid points there, mate. I can see that being something that you'd definitely be taking advantage of in the long run. Alice, we'll finish on you, friendo. Is there anything that Jeb and Kev kind of haven't already gone through that you're looking forward to moving forwards in terms of new features?
Yeah, there's 2. There's my favorite, and it's honestly the Champions League music. Like every time the Champions League music is on, I just stop my stream for a moment. I'm just there with my arms in the air, just singing along to the lyrics. But in all seriousness, the feature that I've actually used the most so far is the new interactions with the agents. None of us like agents, let's be honest. We in IRL football, we all hate agents, but shockingly in FM23, they are useful. So sometimes when you have a contract negotiations, or you accidentally break a promise to a player like I did, the communication there with that player completely breaks down. What can salvage that is the agents. And I've had that a couple of times where you can still approach the agents, and the agents are willing to talk to you, whereas a player might not be. And you can salvage the contract negotiations. You can say we made a promise to that player. The player's in a grumpy because I forgot to hit the time limit on the promise. You just then go to the agent and you just say, oh, let's get these contract negotiations underway, and they're fine. It takes that element of emotion from the player and adds in the kind of the logical aspect of an agent. And that is the feature of FM23 that I've had the most success with. Whether I like it or not is it's almost, to me, it feels almost like it's making the game easier, almost game breaking. It feels like a bug that shouldn't be in here. We in every FM before, as soon as a player has a grumpy on with us, unless we do very specific things that player wants, it's almost impossible to salvage any sort of relationship you have. The whole Aubameyang with Arsenal and eventually moving on to Chelsea for free, just so they got him off the books and stuff like that. It's kind of that is what would happen, but we can salvage those situations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, love that. 100% agree with you on that one, friend. I think the agent negotiation side of things, because we've all done it. We have all absolutely done it. Curse these robot hands. The amount of times I've clicked on the wrong button completely by accident, or made a major balls up of a contract negotiation. And there've even been times I've had, it's only happened a handful of times, where you're negotiating a contract with a player. You go through the provisional promises, and they're happy with all of that, and then you get onto the financial side of things. So and straight away they're like, right, this is what I would like, or the agent, this is what my player would like, and this is all fine. I was expecting to have to negotiate really, really hard with you. I thought this could be really, really tricky. Everything's just there, and nothing is highlighted as red. There's no ridiculous, wage increase after 3 games. Turns up training. Suddenly he's on 100 grand a week more. It's all fine, and you click, yep, I'll agree to that. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, it goes, how dare you? How do you sleep at night? Scum, subhuman scum. My player will have nothing to do with you. I bid you good day, sir. And they flip a cape over their shoulder and saunter out because I'm negotiating with footballers in 1890. It happens, then suddenly that bridge is burnt forever. And you're like, what did I do wrong? It's like, it almost feels like a failed relationship that you're getting back through. It's like, I promised them everything I wanted. I promised them everything. I told them they could have a bonus after they scored 10 goals. What more did they want? And now suddenly you can just phone the agent and be like, actually, can we try again? Can we try and make it work? And it's like, yeah, I'll have a word. And then suddenly everything's fine again. So I am looking forward to the opportunity to fix my mistakes repeatedly, because I'm going to make them. I'm not going to learn from them. And fortunately, there is now a safety net for me to be able to crash into. So delighted that feature is there. 100% agree with you, Alice. That's going to be a very, very, very helpful one. Right, let's dive back into the post bag, because again, I think some of these questions, I think there's, especially given the length of some of the saves that I know that some of us have been involved in previously, I think there's going to be some crackers here. The People's Champion, Tim Lewis. Hiya, Tim. How's it going, pal? People's Champion, Tim Lewis, asks, if you could sign one player you owned in a previous FM, who would it be? Jeb, we'll start with you, friend. Any of your previous FM saves, you can bring one player into your team. Who's it going to be?
This might only ring with maybe Kevin Rich, because I think Alice is reasonably new to Football Manager. Gianpaolo Pizzini. Gianpaolo Pizzini is about 2007, 2008. I think he scored a hat-trick of Italy under 21s. There was a corner bug where it'd get headed out, and whoever was stood on the edge of the box would volley it in every single time. Gianpaolo Pizzini was brilliant at that. He scored so many goals for me in 2007, 2008, 2009, again and again and again. Definitely bring him back.
Love that.
I actually did bring him back for Stoke a couple of seasons into FM21, and I think he scored a winner against Liverpool in like the FA Cup or something stupid. It was like the only contribution he made, but it was worth it. So yeah.
That's it. He never has to buy a pint in Stoke again, which is quite incredible for him. There you go. I mean, if you're doing that in FM21, I mean, how old is he at that point? He's got to be knocking on the door.
I think he's 34, 35. Yeah, he's getting quite on now. I'll double check, but I think he's gone. I think it was about 2009 he scored that hat-trick. I think he scored the first hat-trick at Wembley. That's a pub fact for you. There we are.
There you go.
So,
love that.
Or the new Wembley.
Yeah. I mean, part of me for a second there, when you said 34, 35, thought that's not that old. But obviously, because Jebru and I are both 24, that's ancient.
Yeah, that's it.
Practically ancient. My press age, yes.
Kev's 19. So
Exactly. He's but a child, his whole life ahead of him. Kev, what about you, my guy? Any player from a previous save you could bring back, who's it going to be?
So there is one, but this is the weird thing about me and the fact that unfortunately, I am no longer 19 and my brain is like a sieve. And every time I bring this guy up, I can never totally remember his exact name. I think it's something like Alexanderson or something like that. But it was a Swedish guy from like 20 years ago, and he played everywhere. I mean, literally everywhere. You could bring this guy into your squad and you could play him at any fullback, a holding midfield role, a wing role. He could support the striker. He was mad. And he was also relatively cheap, because I seem to remember there was another guy that did a similar thing that was more expensive than him, I think, in the game. But maybe that's my mind being a sieve again. I'm sure one of the viewers will let us know. But there you go. Nicholas Alexanderson is my guy because he could play anywhere.
I know the expensive player was Luis Enrique, because they both had DMA, left, right, centre. That's going to just do everything for you. That's all it was.
See, my non-19-year-old brain still works just about. Some of the details are a bit hazy.
Yeah.
That's all you need. That is all you need. And if there's one thing that I love, it's a utility player. So yeah, I can fully support that decision, Kev. Makes a lot of sense for me. Alice, any player from a previous save, who's it going to be?
So this might come as a shock to Jeb. I've actually been playing Football Manager since Championship Manager 0001.
Good.
So I have been playing for like 22 years. I know you wouldn't know based on my football knowledge. That's true. But my answer here is going to be very different. The easy answer here is for me to say Chris Llewellyn. He's a player I signed for every Football Manager, every Championship Manager that I could get my hands on him. Even when he became a staff member, I would always take him there. But there was this random young player from Cardiff, and his name was Geza Hagjato. I probably butchering that name. None of you all will know who he is. I don't think anyone listening is going to know who he is. He's just this random youth player from Cardiff that was only ever in that game. I assume he never actually carried on with even semi-professional football, because I never saw him in a Football Manager or Championship Manager after that. And at Cardiff, he was a legend. His attributes never really came to like proper, like top tier Premier League standard. But he became a legend in the club and always performed. Yes, he was never the star of the show, but every game I had him in the centre of midfield. I usually would drop him back into the DM position, and he was I wouldn't say a star, but he was the rock that made Cardiff and the reason Cardiff went on to win the Premiership in like probably however many years it took me to get there, which knowing the fact that I was like, I don't know, 15 or whatever back at the time, it probably would have taken a while. But that's that.
Oh.
Like, none of you will ever know who he is, and I don't even know who he is either, to be fair.
No, I love that. I absolutely love that. If again, players in FM that play above their attributes, there's nothing better. There's absolutely nothing better. We've all had it. I'll guarantee there's not a single person who's listening to this podcast who at some point hasn't had to bring in, due to some kind of injury crisis, a flu outbreak at the club, whatever it may be, they've had to bring in their third, fourth, fifth choice central defensive midfielder, plucked them out the reserves. I'm sorry, all I do is train. I don't actually play football. And then suddenly they come into that first team, and how have I lived without that player? How have I done it? And then suddenly they are just a permanent feature in your squad. And it's like, they're not playing any worse. Maybe you don't need to spend £75 million on a new player every couple of seasons, because I've suddenly just fallen in love with this reserve player who is doing the absolute business for me. I love that. I love it. Especially it's obscure club legends that mean so much more to you having played with them. Just beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. When I saw this question come through from Tim, it got me thinking, because we've all spent minimum 20 years each diving into this weird and wonderful spreadsheet simulator. And I was like, think of a player. It's like, that's actually not necessarily one that you could, because sometimes you're like, well, I remember that player from before they were famous. We all remember how good players like, Romelu Lukaku used to be when they were like 16 at Anderlecht, and we can all say, well, I was right. There was a player, I was like, what actually kind of, invokes the biggest emotional reaction? Because I think it's an emotional one. And then I remembered about a month ago, I was out shopping with my family, and we gone to Home Bargains because I am rock and also roll. And I saw a guy walking around in a very, 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 very old Tunisia national team kit. And on the back of it, he had Yassine Shikauri, who was just a Tunisian central attacking mid. I think he's still playing now in some capacity. Back in like FM, I think probably going back 07, 08, he was at Zurich, and he was still quite young. And I loved him. I'd have taken a bullet for that man at some point. And the guy wearing the Tunisia shirt, I was like, I'm really, really sorry. It's going to sound really, really weird, but I think your shirt is like the coolest thing I've ever seen. And he's like, yeah, I know it is. And then he went back to his shopping and also just beating women off with sticks. He was actually buying a new stick because the old one had got so worn down from all of the attention he was attracting from the ladies. Shikari, he could just do it all. He was technical. He wasn't like physically he was a bit of a Jan Molby in the sense that he wasn't the quickest, but when he was on the ball, he didn't need to run because he could just walk past players. I just used to stick him like behind my front two and just let him do whatever he wanted. And he did it time and time again for me on multiple saves. I would say anywhere between kind of like FM 07, 09, I think was when I kind of got the best out of him. And I just used to love him because he was cheap. He did exactly what you wanted him to do. And I miss him dearly. I think he's, like I said, I think he's still playing. So I don't think there's in theory, there's no reason I couldn't go back and sign him now. I wouldn't want him now because I wouldn't want to tarnish the memories. But if I could pluck him from back then and put him into any of my saves, I would be really, really, really happy. I think my chat would get a bit bored with me because I'd just be like, "Oh, look at him! He's so pretty. He's so good. He's so good at everything." I'd get carried away, but I wouldn't be ashamed, and that's the important thing. No shame on this podcast. No shame in these streams. That's what we say. Tim. Excellent question, friend. Thank you very, very much for that. Thank you very, very much. Right, what's next? Now, we've got a few questions here, which kind of all fall into each other. So what I'll do, because we've got questions basically about kind of long-term saves, and it's questions about kind of the creation of a long-term save, how you reach that decision on kind of like how you get to it, also what it is about those saves that kind of keeps you. What do you find about challenging about the long-term save? What kind of, do you find most rewarding? I think we'll broach different aspects of those questions with different people. I think is probably the safest way to do it. Kev, if we start with you first, friend, in terms of your saves, and I know you enjoy a longer term project. Yes, and rightly so, and you're very good at them as well. What aspects of kind of those longer term projects, what do you find the most challenging kind of parts of those? And flip side of that coin, what aspects of those kind of projects do you find most rewarding?
So pre-doing content creation through either YouTube or Twitch, I was very much the other way around. I would do kind of fallen giants and try and take them to the top, but it would take like 5 seasons and then I'd be done and I'd do another save of some sort and it would just rotate round. It wasn't until I started doing content creation a little bit that I thought a little bit more about the story thread and the arc of it and what am I trying to achieve and why am I trying to do it and where is my starting point. And so the journeyman became a thing that's recently sort of in the last few years taken me over a little bit. What I love about them is that there's that real balance of you can spend a few seasons at a club, you can begin to develop them, you can bring some youngsters through, but then you don't have to stay there. You can take some of the youngsters with you to another place. You can reinstall the energy of the save if it dips a little bit by just walking away from one particular project and going to another and finding something that freshens you up. You get to move into different leagues and experience different setups. I'll tell you that the funniest thing looking back on it now for me was last FM in 22 at the very beginning of my Nordic save. I went into Norway and literally had no idea before I showed up about the registration rules, and for one specific stream sat there scratching my head and banging my head on my desk basically because I had no idea what to do to actually register the players that I want. And it's these kind of moments that now you kind of go hunting for. So those are the things that I love about it. The things that I think are challenging is that your core audience get taken around with you as a content creator, and sometimes they have an investment in a particular area. Then you move away from it and you find new people come in and kind of go with you for that bit, but maybe some of the other ones lose a little bit of interest. So finding the balance of where you go is really challenging for me a little bit, and I feel like I might develop some of that during the coming FM23 save as well that we move into, and just where do I go and how do I bring people with me and how do we understand the sort of the culture of where we're moving to. So ultimately my football manager journey has changed significantly since being a content creator, but those are the things I love. It's just that that journeyman has really become something that I really enjoy.
And it's really, really lovely to hear, it's especially if there's somebody who, especially it might be the case with Kev, you've watched their content before. It's like Kev's Nordic save last season was an absolute joy. but it's also I just love kind of get that little bit of information about people, so you kind of get to know where they've kind of come from in terms of how they used to play the game, how that's now evolved into what they do in the long term. And I can see that pathway between say like resurrecting a fallen giant, and how that would kind of organically become kind of, as you say, the journeyman saves, and kind of what you've started doing, especially now on stream. It's a really, really interesting kind of like journey from A to B. And I think it just, if anything, I think it just kind of gives a little bit more insight about just what makes you tick as a person, which in turn makes the content more enjoyable to watch. Alice, we've had another question in regards to kind of longer term saves. As you were saying earlier, mate, 22 years now. 22 years you've been in the game. This absolutely delightful, finance and HR simulator that we enjoy playing. We've had a lovely question come in from Jamie McGovern. Thank you very much, Jamie. Alice, have you had is there anything kind of from any of your previous saves, kind of a story that's kind of, if anything, let's say you were on the cusp of just throwing yourself in completely, and FM becoming all encompassing as it does for a lot of people. Has there been an instance, has been a save or a story from a save that was the one that kind of like tipped you over the edge, and you're like, suddenly, no, just let the numbers take me. This is all fine now. This is what I want from life. What have you had an experience that kind of, that was the quintessential kind of FM experience that made you go, yeah, this is great?
Honestly, it was FM22. So FM22 was the first Football Manager I streamed. And so playing Football Manager and streaming Football Manager are two vastly different things. You're not playing by yourself. You're not playing by yourself. So the narrative of the game is more enhanced as you learn in this long-term save. Not only do you learn who everyone is in this universe, but so do the viewers. And so with my FM22 save, we basically ended it like 33 years in the future. And so it was a very extremely long save. And we're playing through this save, and when he was quite young, we found a player that played for, I think it was Real Madrid, and his name was Thibaut Leonard. He was a new gen, so obviously it's very specific to the save. And he was way out of our price range. No matter how well we did, as Wrexham, we were never going to have the money to buy Thibaut Leonard. We could be one of the best teams in the world. It's not going to happen. And so we just kind of watched as he developed, and he became literally the best player in the world. Everyone wanted him. He only ever spent his time at Real Madrid. And then late on in his career, I think he was like 33 or something, maybe 34. We finally had a chance to buy him. I think we spent like probably over more than what he was worth at like 34. But to finally get that player at 34, this legend among legend. Everyone in the stream, and like none more so than I, loved this player, despite the fact that we had never played with him. We'd never had him in a game. I don't think I had ever played against him up until that point. We just knew he was there. We watched his exploits with Real Madrid, how good he was. And then we signed him. And then for 2 or 3 years until he retired, he was a Wrexham player. And that is love. That is the love of the player. That is the love of Football Manager. And that was one of the experiences from Football Manager 22 that I want to try and recreate in future Football Managers. That the universe that you build, the 30 years from now, where all the players that exist now are all retired. They're off managing random teams that are now getting into an argument with you over in the press. And I want to recreate in Football Manager FM23 or FM24, FM25. I want a new world for each of these. I want to fall in love with these players. I want to fall in love with the universe and the team or teams we're at. That for me that's Football Manager. That's it.
Promised myself I wasn't going to cry tonight. Oh, Alice. That's got me right in the emotions, and I don't often feel them. Oh, Alice, that's honestly, mate, that's beautiful, man. That is beautiful. Like, because
I was going to say, how did you get over the eyebrows? I think that's the only thing I have issues with New Gen. It's all the eyebrows. That's the main issue.
Shockingly, I think
can't fall in love with any of them.
I think this was a rare one where he had just like where he had normal eyebrows.
That's all it takes. That's all it takes. Just a person with regular eyebrows, and Alice is besotted. She's outside their house with the boombox, just playing wet, wet, wet. It's incredible. Oh, that mate. That is delightful. And we've said before on FMT in previous iterations. One of the reasons that I love FM so much is that there's no right or wrong way of playing the game. Everyone can play it however they want to play it. You know, if you enjoy buying a new game every year and loading up PSG or Man City and just stomping on people, then that is more power to you. If that's how you enjoy playing the game, then that's how you should play the game, because it's fun is subjective. You know, I am an old romantic at heart, and my goodness, that everything about that, Alice, is exactly why like I play the game. I think why quite a lot of other people that will listen to this podcast play the game as well, mate. So that is superb. Absolutely superb. What an excellent question that was as well. So thank you very, very much, Jamie. Appreciate that, mate. Our final question on the subject of saves. I've been saving this one special for the end of the saves questions. We've had a question come in from Vince Gray. Hello, Vince. Appreciate you taking the time, pal. Appreciate you taking the time. How do you decide on a new save idea? Is it because you like the team? Is it the story possibilities? Is it the viewership appeal? Jeb, I've saved this for you, mate. I've saved this for you because I think in terms of deciding a new save, you specifically asked, this question was directed at you, mate. So how do you decide on a new save, Jebaru? What's your process?
I did it last year. I went on GeoGuessr. I found the 2,500 football stadiums map on it. And then we went through, we eliminated like the big clubs when they appeared, and we got down to 5, and then we picked one from there. So I've done the same today, only I've done 15 clubs, and I've separated them out into all little different boxes and stuff like that. And you guys are going to help me pick, and then the viewers/listeners are going to help me pick from there. So I think that's where we're going to go. So I have we've got UK, we've got mainland Europe, and then we've got other. So UK, I'm going to throw to you, Rich. We've got Stoke, Spennymoor, Notts County, Ebbsfleet, or the very British Bordeaux. I'll just put them in there because I can put them anywhere else anyway.
Oh, but, from the Bordeaux region of Britain. Yeah, from the
Bordeaux region of Britain. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Pick a number between 1 to 5, please.
Number 5, please, Jeb.
Number 5, that's Ebbsfleet Town, who I enjoyed particularly because on their GeoGuessr map thing, it says, welcome tea to the tea club shop. So I think just the way it's cut off everywhere, it's just got this T just randomly appearing. Although it might actually be there. So there you go. Ebbsfleet's number 1. Right, mainland Europe. This is where I start butchering names. We'll go with Alice. Bourg-en-Bresse, Lausanne, Frosinone Calcio, Nuremberg, or Pescara. Number between 1 to 5, please, Alice.
Oh, can you please? I didn't quite understand. Could you please list them all off again? So we got no. I'm fucking with you.
You just need to pick a number 1 to 5. Number 3. So that's Pescara in Italy. Okay, that's reasonably easy. That works out quite nicely. And then the other, we have Sporting Club Internacional. That's the Brazilian one, not the Uruguayan one, if I remember correctly. Polokwane from South Africa. I've literally phonetically spelt the next one. Podbeskidzie, which have turned a Polish club into a Welsh club. Aris FC, which is currently managed by Alan Pardew in Greece. And Santa Clara, which is Portuguese First Division team, which is on an island in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. So number between 1 to 5, please, Kev.
I'll go for number 1, please.
Number 1. That is Santa Clara. So there we are. That is it. So I'm either going to be at Ebbsfleet, Pescara, or Santa Clara. So there we are. That is how we are with it. There you go. I'll let you know how we get on. Obviously, I'll put a poll up once the podcast is out, and we can get voted from there.
There you go. So, yeah, I would wholeheartedly encourage everybody to decide Jeb's fate. Hop on, vote on that poll. First of all, what an exceptional just group of clubs. Secondly, I'm really, really glad through that incredibly democratic process that Alan Pardew's managed to keep his job. So I will sleep easier tonight, knowing that Pards is okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Is that poll going to be up on FMT, or is that poll going to be up on Jebaru's Twitter? Where's that going to be?
If Rich can tweet it for me, sure. If not, I'll tweet it myself either way.
I
It doesn't
can- I
matter.
can-
We will discuss afterwards. It'll be there and it'll be retweeted by either side, so it'll be available that way.
It
And I'll
will.
leave it for a couple of days at least. So
So yeah, let's get involved with a good old fashioned democratic process. Let's do that, ladies and gents. So there you go, Vince. That's how Jeb picks a save. Spins of the wheel. So, and I cannot rate it highly enough. Let chaos reign. We did have one kind of final piece of correspondence from a wonderful viewer, wonderful listener, young chap by the name of Dave Goodger FM. Hello, Dave. Hope you're well. Thank you for taking the time. Dave Goodger writes, have you ever thought of having an FMT network save to crown the FMT Grand Champion? Yeah, we have, as it turns out, Dave. Yes, we have. Yes, we have. What an excellent question. But yeah, it's something that, believe it or not, we are going to do. There is going to be a Football Manager Therapy network save. And again, very much like Jeb's, you, the audience, are going to have a role in how it plays out. Now, what we're going to do, we had a little bit of a discussion before we started recording the podcast tonight. We had a bit of a chat amongst ourselves. What we have decided to do is, now the original plan was to go Championship and go for clubs that are geographically closest to where we live in the UK. Then we realized with a league like the Championship, there is a very, very strong possibility that come the end of the season, there are probably going to be either promotions and or relegations. So the overall kind of doing a network save with clubs in potentially 3 different leagues could be tricky. So I'm going to hold my hands up and say when it came to the relegation side of things, I just thought, yeah, probably me. So we scrapped that because I'm a coward. And what we've decided to do, we're going to go good old-fashioned Premier League network save. In terms of the clubs that we manage, this is where you guys are going to come into the mix, because what we are going to do, basically, very much like Jeb Save, it's going to be a spin of the wheel, an actual wheel, not even a metaphorical one. What we are going to do, we're going to load up a wheel with 14 Premier League clubs. We're going to take out the big uns. We're going to take out the Chelseas and the Uniteds and the Cities and the Newcastles. Because I'd rather not. And then what we're going to do is we are going to spin the wheel one by one, and whichever club we land on, that is the club that we will be hoping to take in, probably in my place to Premier League mediocrity. Mid-table, baby. That's the sweet spot for Rich. But where you guys come in, we will put a poll up on the Twitter, which we would appreciate it if you would like to take your time to vote in, as to who gets to spin the wheel first. So we'll do it. Whoever gets the most votes will spin first, and then second, and then third, and then finally last. Weirdly enough, believe it or not, because that's how numbers and counting work. And then we will be getting going with that. Arguably, I would say, obviously, once Full FM has dropped, probably after the live show, we will begin the Football Manager Therapy Network save journey. And I'm excited to get absolutely pasted by everybody else on this podcast. It's going to be a glorious experience. So yes, there will, Dave. Thank you very much for bringing it up. And it was the perfect segue into us getting to announce it to everybody here. So yeah, I'm excited. I mean, bearing in mind, if we're not going to have any of the top clubs, just ever so quickly, we'll nip around the room. Alice, is there anybody you are hoping to maybe get as a spin of the wheel? And likewise, anybody you're hoping to avoid?
This is a question. Are Arsenal still a top 6 club?
I would actually say it's probably going to be anybody in Europe and Newcastle. I think that's probably where it is. It's probably down to
that's a much, that's a much fairer way of putting it, isn't it? Yeah.
Honestly,
so no.
I'm good with anyone after that. Like, if the more difficult, the better. Like, if it's the worst team in the league, I'll take Brighton if I have to. I'll be fine with that.
Mate, I'd be delighted. You mean you're saying that Mac Allister would be just a footnote for you? How dare you? How dare you? Oh, I'd be delighted with Brighton. I'd be absolutely delighted. Kev, what about you, my friend? Any teams that you would be you would have an eye on to maybe spin, and likewise anybody you'd be happy to avoid?
Well, I mean, in terms of ones I'd like to get, I mean, I would happily take Brighton. Have you seen their transfer budget for a start? So, that's in there. But one thing I do think is I've not had much experience of them particularly, but I think there is a much, much better squad in Villa than Gerrard was able to show. And I'd quite like to get them, I think. I think they'd be quite a useful team to move through a season or two with in the Premier League. So I'll go with that. In terms of who to avoid, not especially. I mean, I think given enough time, I would back myself to figure out most teams. But I guess ultimately, the three that have just come up are going to be more tricky than some of the others, maybe just through their financial mechanisms more than anything. So maybe the likes of Bournemouth, because also their stadium is a little bit smaller than others, I think, as well. So that kind of thing. But yeah, I'd go for pretty much anybody.
Fair enough. And Jeb, finally, I mean, as a man, somebody else in FMT who already has a little bit of Premier League experience with the beta so far, anybody you'd be keen to spin and likewise avoid?
Maybe Leicester, maybe something like that. There's a nice little rebuild project there. Villa, as we said, stronger squad. I'm not sucking up to Tony. I'm not pushing on that side of things. Like I said, his viewpoints, he can go where he wants with them. I probably want to avoid Bournemouth, who were managed last season, and probably Wolves, who are managing in the beta soon too, as well, because I know they have problems. Bournemouth have no budget, and Wolves have very little budget and no experience in defence, so it's a difficult one to balance out. Southampton as well, but that'd be a longer term thing because they have all the wonder kids in the world sat there. So
you are so drawing Wolves, aren't you? You just are.
No, exactly. Yeah.
Season one,
like Jimenez, that's fine. Yeah.
Season one in my beta save, Wolves came third, so they got to the Champions League. So you never know. Wolves might be it. Wolves might be the sleeping giants of the Premier League.
So are you saying I'm a terrible manager? Is that what you just said?
Please say that, Alice. Go on.
She didn't need to.
Fighting talk has begun. Yes,
hasn't it though? Hasn't it? There will be bragging rights. There will absolutely be bragging rights. And I think between now and by the time we finish our first season, logistically, we could probably figure out, some kind of trophy, maybe even a crown. I think that's. All of these things are, if you believe it, you can achieve it. I'm a firm believer in the ABN rule, which is literally anybody but Newcastle. So yeah, and they're not even going to be on the wheel. So I would be very, very happy. I don't know why. I'm kind of drawn to a Southampton. I don't know. I just like James Ward-Prowse. Is the long and the short of it. I just really, really like James Ward-Prowse and Livramento as well. I think there's fun to be had there. Bournemouth is another one that I just couldn't bring myself to play Dominic Solanke. I couldn't do it. Sorry, former host of FMT, Matthew Taylor Richards. I haven't got it in me. I haven't got playing Solanke week in, week out in my repertoire. It would make me feel weird and uncomfortable. So, but I think there's plenty of teams in there that I think you could have a really, really fun time with, especially in the context of a network save as well. So, I think, expect fireworks, expect, rivalries, expect, maybe deals done under the table for players in on no wages in times of emergency. Who knows? Who's possibly to say? Me, because technically it's my podcast and I can say what I like. So yes, network save coming soon. I'm genuinely very, very excited to get started.
I think we've got some rules and stipulations to draw up. For example, Nottingham Forest have 20 new players and stuff like that. Do we disable the first window or something along those lines? I don't know if we go as far as that. But speaking of Nottingham, Rich.
What a segue that is.
Oh my God. This is why
they're getting good at this now.
Absolutely.
Oh my God, this is why they're all here. I've assembled such a wonderful team that can do segues. This is perfect. Speaking of Nottingham, yes, mate. What an incredibly great segue that was. This is the last podcast that you will be hearing before FMT storm the Nottingham Comedy Festival at the Canal House on the 7th of November. There are still a small number of tickets available. And you know what? It can be a bit of a hack kind of promoter thing to say, oh, tickets are selling fast. Make sure you get them now. Because often when people say that tickets aren't selling fast, there's a really exciting look behind the curtain for you, especially in the world of comedy. Get tickets while you can, and while you can is always. But yeah, there are a small number of tickets left. So first and foremost, thank you to everyone that's bought one. It's genuinely quite incredible. We just thought, because this is the last podcast you'll be hearing publicly before the event, it's probably worth, especially if you're not geographically too close to Nottingham, there are train strikes planned. Boo. But also we stand with striking rail workers, so it's very conflicting for me, because on the one hand, everyone should have a right to better pay. On the other hand, I just want to get to Nottingham by train on the day. It's a really, really tricky one for me. But I think most importantly, if you were planning on traveling to Nottingham by train, check with your local rail network to make sure that is still doable. I've been recently informed that the trains that I had booked to travel there are no longer running, so I have made alternative arrangements. But if it is possible for you to get there, I would wholeheartedly encourage you to do so. Obviously, Tony will be there. Boo. Boo that man. Boo that man. Tony will be there. We've got special guest plans. Super secret special surprises are planned. It's going to be really, really good. I cannot emphasize enough that if you are capable of maybe getting there, I would wholeheartedly encourage you to try and do so. So yeah, 7th of November, tickets are available. Again, we will put the link to the tickets in the description of this episode, regardless of the platform that you are consuming it on. We will get that all in there. And as I say, this is the last time we'll be speaking to you publicly before the event happens. So if you're in the neighborhood, come on down. It'll be nice. You get to see us all. We're all lovely and we all smell nice. Right then, I think, ladies and gents, that's a podcast, I think we've done quite well this evening. So obviously, before we go, as we always do, plug, because we've talked about content quite a lot this evening. So please tell us where you can find yourselves. Jeb, we'll start with you, mate. Plug everything. Plug the whole lot.
Jebaroo on Twitch, the Jebaroo on Twitter. That's pretty much it. I'll be carrying on my wolf save, but I'm away after this week, so I think I probably won't be doing it until after the launch now. So there we are.
Happy days. Kev, what about you, my friend? Where can the people find you?
Yep, you can find me at the United City FM, both on Twitter and Twitch. I'm on Twitch every weekday afternoon, 3 till 5 p.m. Currently with Valencia till the official game drops in a week or so. So come and check us out and enjoy the streams together.
Lovely. And Alice, finally, you friendo, where are the people finding you and all those wonderful things that you do?
You can find me over on Twitch at FM_Gil. Where we're doing our Arsenal beta save at the moment. And you can also find me over on Twitter at FM_Gil43, where the main thing I use Twitter for is for my comic. We make a football manager based comic, and FM23 is definitely providing me plenty of content for the foreseeable future for the comic. So please go over there and enjoy that.
Wonderful. If you want to find me anywhere, you can do so at Rich Owens FM on Twitter and twitch.tv/Rich Owens FM, where there is content galore, which is about to be helped by some new graphics that somebody slightly more graphically competent might have made for me out of pity more than anything else. Just pure pity. So cheers, whoever that was that did that. That might have been. There we go. I've got the point. I've nailed the pointing first time around. It was Alice. It was definitely Alice. She looked at my graphics and she went, "Mate, are you okay?" So thank you, pal. Appreciate that. Right. Thank you all very much for choosing to hang out with us. We massively appreciate you. There will be links to our Patreon in the Discord. There's a new FMT Patreon. Please come and hang out there. We're all on there. We will have a lovely old time. YouTube, the links will be in the description as well. Obviously, follow us on Spotify, wherever you consume your podcasts. But that beautifully wraps us up. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for hanging out with us here at Football Manager Therapy. We'll see you very soon. Take care. Love you. Bye-bye.